Simply Monarchs, brought to you by Wild Birds Unlimited. I am Debbie Wolterman, a resident of Lebanon, Ohio, and I'm happy to be able to share with you the knowledge I have gained over 10 years of working on my hobby, which is attracting pollinators, especially monarchs, and raising them, tagging them, releasing them. I want you to know that in this presentation, I've included YouTube videos. I have included references to some vendors. I receive no compensation for this. I have simply provided what I feel would be the most helpful information to you. So let's go ahead and get started, and thank you for joining us. So why would you want to take on a hobby like monarchs or pollinator gardens, anything along that line? I think you need to know the why. Why would you do that? And I believe this video that I found, which is a Nightline news special, not sure of the year, but I completely missed it when it was released. It is rather long at 7 minutes, but it will give you that warm feeling of, yeah, this makes sense. Yeah, I should get in the game and help out here. So enjoy. Hopefully at this point you have watched the video from Nightline. If not, you'll still appreciate the reasons you would want to attract monarchs. Primary for me is the miracle of their life cycle. It's just so inspiring and cannot figure out how it happens. No one has actually figured it out yet. I am a scientist by background. That's my field, and that egg has not been cracked. So isn't it great to still have something that no one has figured out yet? Unbelievable. Their transformation makes you know that they can do this. You can do something similar. It's a way to engage your children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren in nature play. Children will love some of the videos that are on here, and they will certainly enjoy raising any type of insect, including a monarch. So give it a go. It's also an acceptable way to engage senior citizens like myself in nature play. It's also a good reason to put in native plants in your yard with color, and that changes, every couple weeks, and attracts different insects that you can watch. Also, you're doing your part to make sure that generations of monarchs continue for your grandchildren and maybe great-grandchildren. Also, primary is stopping the use of pesticides in urban and suburban yards. These are not farms. They're not meant to be insect-free. An insect is also a monarch. A monarch is an insect. Birds eat insects. If you kill the insects, you kill the birds. So I'm really a major advocate of no pesticides. Provide milkweed to help offset the long-term negative impact of Ohio and Indiana cornfields and soybean fields. We have plowed down so much native habitat which contain milkweed, which is what they require, monarchs require to lay their eggs on. You'll find that out by watching the YouTube videos. If we take that land away, we should do our part to try to replace it. My philosophy is a lot of little. I have that at the bottom of the slide. If all of us do a little bit together, we can really make a huge difference. It can be overwhelming to think about all the land that's been lost, and what do we do? Do we have to buy a park? What do we do? No, you just need to take a corner of your backyard, commit to putting in native plants, including milkweed, and move forward. There are basics to raising children, raising pets, and raising insects like monarchs. Number one, you don't want to kill them right out the gate, so eliminate pesticides, which I discussed on the previous slide. You have to feed them, and I'm providing in this presentation some very simple, very yard-friendly, Homeowners Association friendly, and easy to care for. Many of them reseed, so You'll see that further in the presentation. So I've picked 3 major flower sources for nectar. Set up a nursery. You've got to raise the babies. So there's lots of choices in the milkweed world. Many of us think only of the common milkweed, which can get pretty aggressive if it's happy. I personally can't get it to grow in my yard, so I don't get to experience that aggressive nature of the common milkweed. I would say if you're in an urban or suburban yard, you're just getting started, avoid that particular milkweed. And I will show you examples further on about what you could choose instead. Here's an option in the Zinnia family. You can find this plant just about any nursery in town, anywhere. You can plant the seeds yourself, start them indoors on a south side or west side window, or you can even start them early outside in the spring, and when it gets cold at night, bring the tray back in the house. They're short, they're colorful, they do attract insects. So it's called the Profusion group of Zinnia. So try it, see what you think. Our next Zinnia is called zowie. I have it right now bordering my entire patio and gazebo. It's very easy to start from seed. I order a seed packet every spring, plop it into a bunch of peat moss pots, and put it in the south window. I probably grow 24 of them. They get about 2 feet high. I don't think mine get 3 feet high. And they're just profusely colorful, and they last all season. And they do reseed also, but you're still going to need to grow some. Here is another great Zinnia option. I have it in pictures in my yard that you'll see later. It's the Benary giant plant. Attracts butterflies, all types of butterflies. It reseeds, and what I will do in the spring is I will dig up the small plants and move them around to different beds, because when it reseeds, it doesn't always reseed where you want it to be. Almost never. So just dig them, move them, and they will do fine. They do not need a lot of watering and a lot of care. Now for my favorite plant, Tithonia, Mexican sunflower. It is native to Mexico, although I never saw it in Mexico, but it's there. And it does get tall. It is these are pictures that absolutely represent the plant. It's well worth getting. I bought mine this year at Greenfield Plant Farm. They had them late spring, and so I was able to get an early start. However, once you have them, they do reseed, especially in mulch. And so if you're patient, you'll see them come up, let them grow. They'll be fine. By the time the monarchs are headed down south, their migration south, you'll have plenty of Tithonia to offer them from seeds from the previous year. I buy plants, and I also allow plants to reseed. This is an awesome, awesome addition. I love it. It's like a landing strip for monarchs. You will watch them come in, land, nectar. Of all the plants in the yard, this plant and another plant I'm going to show you called large-headed Liatris are the 2 plants that I find all the monarchs on. So here is another favorite of the monarchs. If you're going to have a garden, this one goes in the back. It comes back every year. I believe I purchased mine originally from Prairie Moon Nursery, and I think it's in Wisconsin. And that's also a good source for all native plants. Luckily for us in Cincinnati area, we have the Cincinnati Zoo, which does have a native plant program. It's out in Mason, I believe, and they have greenhouses, and they do offer sales, and they do know what they're doing. So if you're interested in native plants, please look up on the zoo website when they're going to have these native plant sales. You do not have to buy anything, but you can learn a lot just walking through the greenhouses, asking questions. They have demonstration gardens, which I think are just excellent for the homeowner, so you can go and see what the plants look like. I have some pictures of this, and further on in the presentation. I love it. I would never go without it. I probably have somewhere around 20 of these right now, and they're very popular. This is the first week in August, and at any time I will see monarchs flying in, and this is the one plant they go to absolutely every time. If you remember, I said that our common milkweed was pretty aggressive, and it is, and that I could not get it to grow in my yard, which is also true. This plant is very acceptable in any neighborhood. It's called Asclepias incarnata, or swamp milkweed. Don't let the name fool you. It does not need to be in a swamp. It does not need to be in water or extremely wet soil. As a matter of fact, I find mine doesn't really like it that wet. It doesn't like it totally bone dry, but it don't like it really wet either. So give this plant a try. Actually, that picture is in my yard, so you can see how attractive it is. It's blooming right now, August, first week in August. And so this is a very acceptable native plant that you can use to attract monarchs. They will lay their eggs on this plant. It's easy to find the eggs on this plant, and you can pull off the leaf and you can raise a monarch from the egg that's on the leaf. Here is another very acceptable short native plant that attracts monarchs. They will lay eggs on it. I have heard stories that they won't, but that isn't true. They really do. Towards the end of the season particularly, I do find caterpillars and eggs on my tuberosa. So it's Asclepias tuberosa. I think it's also called butterfly weed. Buy yourself some. It's such a vibrant plant, so hardy, likes it kind of dry, and it's a great border plant, just to border around anything actually. And it's robust. Just don't treat it with too much kindness. It does like a dry climate, so not too much water. So now we've come to the primary monarch plant that I use as a border plant. It's about 2 feet tall max, easy to prune back and make fuller. This plant, I find the most eggs on, easy to identify eggs on the leaves of this plant. It's once again, as you can see, colorful. Picture at the bottom shows you the monarchs like it. And it's very garden friendly, very neighborhood friendly, and pollinator friendly. So I use this plant also as a food source when I'm raising my monarchs. So I'll cut off a branch to feed the monarchs that hatch out from the eggs I pull off on the bottom of these leaves. So I collect the leaves with the eggs. I put them in a Tupperware container. I let them hatch out. I see the little holes in the leaves. I watch them grow inside this container. And then when they're large enough for me to see, I will put them in a tent and continue to feed from this plant. I probably buy, maybe 15, 12, 15, 20 of these a year, border certain beds, and they will reseed in a sunny south side, especially with mulch. And so towards the end of the season, I'm able to go back out and start using the newer plants. Enjoy this plant also. It's a great option for you. So how will you know if monarchs are in your yard? Many of us work. Many of us are busy. We're not sitting in a chair waiting for a monarch to show up. What I like to say is, number one, you will eventually see a monarch flying, but you can also just randomly every couple of days go out on the curassavica milkweed, the one from the previous slide, start bending the leaves back and look for this creamy white egg. There's more information available in the YouTube video that I show here, so I recommend that you actually watch that. So you think you want to raise monarchs. Remember, there are 4 key words: commitment, containment, catering to their needs, and cleaning all the poop that comes out. Frankly, they do poop a lot. Get acquainted with the full life cycle of monarchs. I've provided the YouTube video for that I feel is really cute and excellent for children particularly. It is actually done by a school, and for a school. I don't know if the school actually did it, but it's a really cute little video on the life cycle of monarchs. Another resource I use all the time for my raising supplies, and he has a great blog, and I absolutely love this site. It's monarchbutterflygarden.net. So you might want to go on the internet and just kind of look at that site. I often get questions about, how's the monarch population doing? We hear it's not doing well. Actually, last year it did really well. There was a huge increase, the highest in 12 years. This year, which means something like from January of 2020, around that time period, February 2020, there is a census done in Mexico in the mountains, and I was there this year. And they have estimated that it's now down again by 53%. Just an FYI. If you did not watch this video from the previous slide, that was 2 slides ago, now is your time to watch it. You can also just send this slide, clip it, and send it to people that you think would enjoy just seeing this particular life cycle. I call this next couple of slides, keeping it real. These are actually photos from my world, August 1st. I don't know how many of you watch cooking shows and think, okay, what's her real kitchen look like? So I decided to get brave yesterday, and I went around and just took pictures of what I'm doing. So this is a raising cage in the left side, and then inside the cage, right side, are the caterpillars. Thought you might enjoy seeing that. Also keeping it real are photos from my gardens yesterday, and you can see on the front the curassavica milkweed and then the zinnias in the back, and that shows you how I kind of have a border that attracts pollinators, including monarchs. And here is where I have the Liatris on the left side, the purple plant. It does get tall, well worth having anyway. Put it in the back of your garden. Also has the annual milkweed in the front. And then I have the Tithonia on the right side. And it's on the other side of the wall by my patio. It works quite well there. Hope you find it yourself actually using these plants. They're, as I said, they will attract the monarchs. Without fail, if there's a monarch in your neighborhood, it will go there. I went to Mexico in February of this year, primarily because one of my tags was recovered, my tagged monarchs. I felt like that was a sign that it was time to get off my butt and go down there and actually experience the monarch preserves. So I did. I went to Macheros, Mexico. It was a life-changing event for me. I can't wait to get back. Such a peaceful village in the mountains, very little technology, absolutely kick back, inspiring, wonderful. Can't say enough about it. So I thought I would start this with Peanut, who was our horse trail dog, believe it or not. Peanut took his job very seriously. And so I got the biggest kick out of Peanut because he wanted nothing to do with actually being a small dog. He wanted to lead you up to the 10,000 foot level on a horse. This is where I stayed when I went to Mexico at the end of February of 2020. It's called JM Butterfly B&B, Bed and Breakfast. Very peaceful. There's not a lot of technology, which is great. You get to go up in the mountains to 10,000 feet or so to see the monarchs on horses that they have there. So I strongly recommend, if you're considering a trip to see the monarchs, that you consider Macheros, Mexico. To end my presentation with a little bit of inspiration, I mentioned I'd gone to Mexico, and here are 2 videos that I took on my iPhone on the trail. Enjoy the videos and think about the message I send in this presentation, and just start exploring. It's great, it's fun, and I wish you the best. Thank you for listening. Bye.